Okay. Hi everyone. So I think I'm just gonna start now. And yeah. So my name is Kwame Manu, and I'm currently the manager for analytics and reporting at MTN. And basically today we're just gonna talk about, how AI has helped with our digital transformation journey at MTN, not just at MTN as well. So there will be other use cases that I'll speak about that I will go beyond the borders of MTN, and also basically talk about some of the work that I've done in the past. So thank you for joining. Just a bit about me. So I previously worked at Vodafone, now Telecel, and I was there for almost 5 years, and I worked in analytics. So I was a data analyst within the analytics team. And yeah, so that was where majority of my growth happened. So basically the tax then was quite huge. So it meant supporting the entire business with everything related to analytics. So what happened then was, do you know how these telecommunication or basically multinationals, we have different operating countries, but then there's like a group so the group team in the UK decided that we needed to set up an analytics team in Ghana just so to handle a lot of the analytic requests. So for example, if the commercial team wants to understand customer churn, they wanted a central team that would work on that, or anything relating to, product recommendation, building of dashboards. Yes. So that was my first role at Vodafone, and I was part of the team, the analytics team, and that's what we basically did. So we supported the commercial team with, churn models, prediction, and then supporting, let's say, the network team with smart CAPEX. So when we say smart CAPEX, we mean finding the next optimal size to put, so a lot of you know about the towers that we have, all across. And there's the towers that's, provide internet connectivity. So that was also some form of prediction, basically determine which is the best place to put a cell site. Yeah. So that was the journey. And then currently working at MTN as the manager for analytics and reporting. So in addition to being at MTN, I work at Springboard. So Springboard is the, how do you call it? It's more like Coursera, right? Or Udemy, right? But Springboard usually serves businesses. So let's say if Amazon wants to train some of its workers in, let's say, data analytics, they come speak to Springboard, and then Springboard has, have a course, they have a program, and then basically Amazon pays for it. So I serve as a mentor for these students. So I've had, mentees working at Amazon and Walmart, and I basically guide them to become either data analysts or data scientists. So yeah, so that's in addition to what I do at MTN. And I also, I'm a researcher as well. So I've been able to work on 5 research papers that have been published. It's been a couple of years now. Yeah, so that's what you have there. It's more than 3,000 reads and 100 citations. And I understand that these numbers are quite good because even people doing their doctoral studies don't have these number of, you know, numbers. So that's one of the things that I'm also happy about. And yeah, one other thing that I also love to share with people is I love to add new places on Google Maps. So when I go to a place and I see it's not on the map, I'm able to add it. And over the years, all the places I've added, it's been viewed so many million times. And yeah, so obviously I'm not paid for this, but I mean, it's a sense of you feel, proud knowing that, hey, I added this place on the map and people are able to find locations because of what you've done. Yeah, so that's basically a bit about me. And yeah, so we can get into what the focus is for today, right? Um, So my exposure to digital transformation started, as I mentioned, at Vodafone. So one of the tasks that I was really focused on was helping the company to transition. So usually, I'm not sure how many of you have heard this, but the company transitioning from a telecom to a technology company, right? So Vodafone, MTN, Airtel Tigo, at its core, what we do, we provide telecom services. So you want to call somebody, you want to do voice, or these are our core services that I provide in even with the introduction of fintech as well, so mobile money. But in order to grow or even develop further, a lot of these telecom companies, or let me not say every one of them, because some are not doing that, but the the very good ones try to leverage their existing technology to become more, right? So that's when the digital transformation comes in. And in my time at Vodafone, one of the ways that we're trying to do that is to leverage the the Vodafone app. Yeah, so you're going to be hearing this a lot because I've worked with these two companies, but yes. So one of the ways that we were trying to bridge that gap was to, use the My Vodafone app. And let me give you some context, right? So a lot of you buy data, you check your balance, and when you do that, you use USSD. I'm sure you know what USSD is. So when I say star 124 or star 138, that is what we call USSD, right? And that has been the backbone of, let's say, telecom in Africa for a very long time. And the reason I'm saying is if you go to Europe or the US, you would never see anybody typing, going to star 124 to check their balance. It doesn't happen. It's non-existent. And that's because they manage a lot of their accounts using mobile apps or websites. But when these telecom companies came to Africa, they realized that a lot of the devices that we use are basic or feature. Even now, as we still have a lot of basic and feature phones. So basic and feature, as we call here in Ghana, are YAM phones, right? So the USSD supports every customer type. So it doesn't matter whether you have a smartphone or a basic phone, you're able to check your balance, you're able to manage your account, right? So that is the interface that has been existing in Africa and Ghana for the longest time. So the other thing that I say is, so Vodafone then was trying to disrupt itself in the sense that we introduced USSD, but we were trying to digitize and transform ourselves. And that's why these mobile apps were introduced, right? So my goal then was to be the go-to person in terms of, you know, every insight, every data, every reporting, anything that I had to do with the app, right? So that's where the work started, right? And basically, it was very successful in the sense that I think a few years in that journey, I think Vodafone won the best mobile app or something. Like we won awards basically, right? And what we're trying to do as a business was to drive change. And that's the key thing. That's what digital transformation does, right? So there is an old way of doing things, but you're trying to transform it to make it better, easier, faster, improve customer experience. And that is what the app was for. And basically, anytime you hear about digital transformation, that is what it is trying to do, right? To improve customers' lives, to improve the lives of people, right? In the sense of Vodafone and MTN, that was the goal. And for many of us that use the mobile apps, you can tell that it gives you a better experience. And one key thing is personalization. And these are projects that I worked on with these companies. So when I was at Vodafone, we were able to personalize your experience on the mobile app. You cannot do that with USSD, right? So USSD, I cannot personalize your experience. With the mobile app, we could, let's say if customer A is using an iPhone 8, right? And they like to buy a particular bundle using digital tools. So the first thing in here, and because I'm a data scientist, the first thing in here is the insights, right? So being able to understand who the customer is, so you're able to personalize that experience for the customer. And that was one of my very first tasks, right? So I worked on doing the integration. The analytics platform that we're using was a cloud service. So doing that integration so that we could get all of these insights, so that we could segment the customers that, hey, this group of customers have similar interests. Another group of customers have these kind of interests. Yeah. So that was the key, thing that I worked on then. And by doing that, it was able to drive significant change, because now you're able to speak to customers' needs, that you understand them better, and using these digital platforms, you're able to give them a very personalized experience, such that once they come to your app and they feel like, how did you even know this? I know this happens a lot with social media sites, and it scares us. It's all because of data and insights, right? They know what you search about, they know what your interests are, and they're able to give you ads that sort of meets, like speak to whatever you're interested in. So basically that's it. And there are many digital transformation, use cases. I've given you very good ones with Ghana. The very popular one that a lot of us know about is Netflix, right? What happened with the disruption and how Netflix came about. There are so many other use cases, even cloud services, right? How some companies like Amazon have been able to ride on that and, transform the way businesses work now. So there are many, many ways that companies are able to, look within themselves and then transform. And being a data scientist and working at these two companies, I mentioned a lot of the use cases. So one of the very simple ones that works really well is customer segmentation. And I don't know how many of you here are into data science, but it's one of the most powerful ways that businesses leverage, ML, machine learning, and AI to be able to target customers, right? And I know artificial intelligence is huge now, like everybody's talking about it, but it's been there for many years, right? So I fell in love with data science and analytics in a geography class many years ago, right? And what happened was there's a course called remote sensing. So when you pick a satellite image, you're able to use machine learning technologies to be able to, you know, sort of train the image, right? So either you do it a supervised way. So let's say I know how East Legon looks like, right? So when I get a satellite image of East Legon, I will train the model that these particular areas are settlement areas, and these particular areas are, let's say, vegetation, or so on and so forth. Once you train the image on these data sets, then the image is able to classify the rest of the image for you. And that's how I fell in love with, data science and analytics. So it's been there for a very long time. And customer segmentation has been happening as well for a very long time. It's actually one of the fun things that I love about my work, because what you're able to do is you're able to go into the data set and looking at attributes, all the data sets, all the data fields, and using ML techniques and using data science techniques, you're able to segment customers so that businesses can target them. And that is one of the most subtle ways that companies are digitally transforming. And if I can explain that further, so previously, if we were to, let's say, companies were to target people, they didn't do it based on any insight, right? So it was just a mass targeting, right? But one thing that happens now, leveraging the data, you're able to target specific people, and that improves your conversion. If you're able to really segment people and target them with the right items, it really, really boosts up your conversion as well. Churn as well. A lot of you, I'm sure, have heard about customer churn. And customer churn basically says, how many people are leaving my business, leaving my services. And working at Vodafone, churn was a huge problem, right? Because you have MTN, who is such a big player, and you would definitely need to have some model that tells you, predicts churn for you. And that is one of the very first cases that we worked on. So leveraging our historical data, we're able to predict that these number of customers had this probability of leaving the network. And that is when other business units are able to come in and collaborate, right? So once we predict the number of people that are leaving, and then the CVM team, the customer value management team, is able to pick up these people and try and reach out to them, maybe with some very good offers, or maybe to try and understand how they can keep them on the network. And by doing that, you're able to reduce the churn and, find very unique ways to keep these kind of customers around. Another key one is product recommendation. And I'm sure a lot of us here have interacted with some sort of product recommendation from either MTN or Vodafone, right? Or previously Telecel. For Vodafone, I think the offer was made for me. So for those of us that use Vodafone, there's a package called Made for Me. And Made for Me is an ML or stroke AI. ML is under AI. So yeah, it's an offer that basically studies your spending habits, right? So how much you spend on the network, how much data whether you're heavy on data or heavy on voice, and also looks at how much balance you have in your wallet. And based on all of this, it gives you a tailored offer. Well, not uniquely for you, but because there's a large customer base, it puts people in cohort or segment or brackets, right? And then it pushes offers that meet these kinds of cohorts, right? And it was super successful when Made for Me was first done. It was one of the earliest applications of, product recommendation or ML that I've ever seen in this country. It was super successful. It was able to generate a lot of revenue for Vodafone. And simply because, as I mentioned, because you're leveraging these new tools and technologies, you understand the customer better and you're able to give them offers that meet their needs, basically, right? At MTN, a lot of you that use it also know about Just For You. Just For You is also a similar product as well. That's, similar concept, right? So studies your spending habits and then gives you offers that, you are more likely to pick up, right? So I'm happy to be in this country and have very good use cases like this because, we don't usually, when people speak about, applications of AI in business, we tend to refer to the US or, the Western world, but we have actually very good use cases here and that have given us real value. Sentiment analysis as well. And this is NLP, natural language processing. And my very first experience with this was when I was a graduate executive at Vodafone. And so the story was one weekend, I noticed it was a Friday. I noticed people were speaking a lot about the Vodafone. So when you go to trending on Twitter back then, Vodafone was there. And I wasn't sure why. I thought maybe because the Vodafone team in group had released a new product or something. But then when I started going through the tweets individually, I realized the people were complaining, right? But the thing is, as an analyst or a scientist, you cannot deal with individual data sets, right? So I can't pick one tweet and say there's an issue because like it's inefficient, right? So that's why you're a data scientist. So what I did was using sentiment analysis and NLP and all of that, I was able to come up with themes around what people were saying on that Friday. So what was the general issue? People were complaining about the network. Okay. No, first, let me say people were talking, right? So you just know people are talking about the network and using, sentiment analysis, NLP, you're able to tell that a lot of it is negative, right? And the beautiful thing about this is it didn't just end there, right? So people are complaining, right? The sentiments are bad. Everything doesn't look good. The additional thing that I did on top of that is where are these people complaining from? Because once you have this, then you're able to go to the network team and let them know that the first part of analysis, I've seen people talking on social media about Vodafone. The next layer, the talk is not good. They're talking about a network and it's very bad. It's negative sentiment and all of that. You can do the word cloud and all of those fancy things, right? But then the thing that helps the business is where are these complaints coming from and how can we address it quickly, right? And in actual fact, when all of this is automated, the business runs better and faster because, for example, if this happens again and all of this process is automated, what happens is there's just this connection where we immediately pick up that people are complaining. We pick up what they are complaining about, and we're able to link it to where the complaints are coming from. And then we're able to forward that to, let's say, the network team. And the network team is now able to focus on these areas to find out why, the complaints are coming about. And eventually they found out that one of the base stations had an issue or something, and it was resolved. Yeah, so I've spoken about the personalization already in terms of what we did with the mobile app and websites, being able to personalize customer experiences, doing A/B tests to try and understand which experience or which version of either the Apple website served customers better. Yeah, so these are very excellent use cases that relied heavily, not just on data, but data science techniques, as well as ML and AI as well. Now, a lot of us have heard about AI, and again, when I'm speaking to people, I talk about Alan Turing. So Alan Turing was considered the father of AI. The sad story about him was he was actually, first of all, castrated, and then he was killed. I think because he was homosexual back then, and I think this was in 1940s or 50s. Hopefully I'm not wrong. But yeah, back then it was frowned upon, and yeah. So he didn't have the best life in terms of his personal life, but he is considered the father of AI. Sorry, his name is not here. This is a different reference, but I love to talk about this particular story. So he came up with the Turing test. I don't know how many of you have heard about the Turing test. So the Turing test is where you put an AI or a computer or a machine on one side of the room, and then you put a human being on the other side. And I mean, so the person on the other side can't see who is talking to. So it's like there's a computer and there's a human being, and then I am on the other side of the wall. So I'll have interaction. So I'll speak to these two, the computer, and I don't know who I'm speaking to. And then in the end, I have to determine which one of them I was speaking to is actually a human being or an AI. And the whole point is we're able to build artificial intelligence systems such that the person on the other side of the wall can't even determine who you're speaking to, right? So that's the Turing test, and it's actually very popular. You see it when people talk about AI in movies, they refer to that as well. So basically, it's quite similar to the definition here, right? So making intelligent machines and the concept of the Turing test, making the machine so intelligent that when you're speaking to them, you can't even tell whether that's a human being or not. And a good example is OpenAI's, one of their latest models of ChatGPT that you can speak to. So for those of us that use it on the web, I'm sure recently you saw there was a notification asking you to download the app and speak to, their AI. And there are videos going around where the AI sounds so human, right? So if you're not told, you think the person is speaking to a friend or boyfriend or something, because there's humor, there's tonations, I mean, it sounds so much like you're speaking to a human being, right? So that's basically what AI has been about. And I mean, a lot of us also understand that they're very, I don't know how to put it, but Elon Musk, for example, has been very worried about the potential of AI and all of that, but it doesn't take away the fact that it's completely changed how we work. I don't know how many of you as well follow the Nobel Peace Prize. So I might follow them. And the Nobel Peace Prize in Physics this year went to two people that built an AI model for a project, right? So when they announced the awards, a lot of people were asking, what has this got to do with physics? Like there's no physics in here. But that has been like AI has been so huge that even the Nobel Peace Prize winners, you know, had something to do with AI. And then I think either yesterday or today, the Nobel Peace Prize in Chemistry was announced as well. And one of them did something with machine learning, of being able to predict something. And it was just funny for me, right? So you have two physics people winning the Nobel Peace Prize because of something that they did with AI. And then the chemistry winners, one of them built an ML model. So I guess it's AI's time to reign or rule, whatever it is. Yeah. So I put in these definitions basically to help us just run through them quickly. This is not a lecture, but yeah. So when we say human beings are intelligent, right? So how do we see the intelligence, right? And over time, we've been able to do all these wonderful things as humans, build these huge skyscrapers, build airplanes, basically because we're able to identify problems, we're able to learn and adapt, and we're able to solve these problems, right? And that's what we've been doing all of these years, like since the beginning of time, right? We're problem solvers, and our brains are so amazing and wonderful that we're able to learn and adapt that Thomas Edison failed over what 99 times or 100 times, so many times, right? And when you speak to researchers and scientists, they tell you that failure is their best friend, because when they fail, they're able to learn from that and adapt and be better, right? So that's what makes us intelligent. Robots, if there's no AI in them, are just stationary. Once you put AI in them, they're able to also learn, and that's what we've been doing these many years. For example, when I spoke about the chain use case as an example, oh no, let me go back to the remote sensing example, right? So what you do is you're training the model, or yeah, you're training the model that if you see this particular image, classify it as A. And if you see this one, classify it as B. So what you're doing is teaching the model, and the model is learning. And once you teach it with, let's say, a sample of the data. So usually when we're building ML models, I think we do the training with 80%, and then the prediction, no, it's not mandatory, it's just something yeah, it's just common, right? 80, and then you test with the 20, right? So once you train it, then the machine is able to learn and adapt and be able to predict as well. So there are so many ML use cases. And I'm not gonna go through, I've gone through some of them, but yeah, just reach out to me. I'm happy to talk more. And I think this session is just turning into my experience and yeah, a lot of the work that I've done. Yes, and I just spoke about the supervised learning even without moving to the next step, right? So supervised learning is what the features are, what it is, and then you train the model to learn from that, right? And then I didn't put it on supervised, but I can obviously speak about it. So on the unsupervised version of that, using that same example is, let's say you've never been to the north, okay? You don't know what the place looks like. You don't know how to classify that particular image. However, what you can do is to tell the model that, hey, I have no idea what is happening with this image, but can you use your intelligence or whatever model based on the algorithm that you want to use? Can you leverage on that to classify this image for me? And in a very good example, so satellite images have pixels in them. So each pixel is different from the other pixel. So then that is what the ML or machine learning model does. So because there are differences in the pixels, it's able to classify pixels that have similar or common, you know, attributes and put them in one bracket. So it says, hey, I've seen these number of pixels in this image and they look similar. So I'm going to classify them as A. And then it goes to the image and it says, okay, on the north side, I found these number of pixels that also have similar attributes. And because of how similar they are, I'm going to put them into another bracket for you. That's B. And that's basically how unsupervised. So the machine learning basically tries to understand what is going on, and that's a classification on your behalf, right? And it's fun, right? I told you that's how I fell in love with data science, and it's been a very good journey. Deep learning, basically, I'm not sure how many have heard about neural networks, and I am recently at the Google Dev Fest. I think I mentioned that as well in relation to how AI is, I mean, it's grown and it's built up so much that um let me give credit to, obviously I'd have to open AI and with ChatGPT. So what they've done is they've democratized AI in the sense that you don't need to know what neural networks are or what deep learning is, but I mean it's been made really simple for everyone to sort of interact with AI. And yeah, I mean somebody in marketing who has never been to a data science class is able to use ChatGPT. Yeah, basically. Yeah. So I mean, I'm just gonna quickly run through this because as I mentioned, this is not a lecture, but just for us to understand, what these different terms mean. I'm sure some of us have heard about narrow AI, right? So I think people say that it's the next level of AI where these chatbots or human beings they act really like human beings, right? So they become aware, basically. I think that's the key word. They're able to adapt quickly. And I mentioned that earlier. One of the beautiful things about humans is we're able to adapt. We're able to come aware of our surroundings and adapt to it. And that is the next level of AI, right? So the AI is able to study its environment, be able to study the happenings around it, and adapt and grow in intelligence, right? So adaptable intelligence, basically, that's what that means. And I mean, human-centered AI, you can sort of flip that to mean AI for social good, basically, right? So how AI can help humans live better lives, support humans be better people. And a lot of, scientists now are trying to reposition AI in that particular sense because a lot of us, when we hear AI, we get scared, we get worried that AI is going to take our jobs, AI is going to take over everything that we do. But the human-centered AI approach is basically to say AI is to augment what we do to help us live better lives, not to replace us. I think that is a version of AI that most people are more comfortable with. Yeah, so I think I would take a second here to maybe take one or two questions before I move on, because I think I've been speaking for a while before we proceed. Are there any questions? So if you like to unmute and ask any question, I'd be happy to address it. If not, then we move on. Okay, no question. All right, that's awesome. So yeah, so this is a cycle that I use often, and I'm just hopeful that some of us on this call have an interest in data science and analytics, because I mean it basically shows you the journey that companies go through and what I've been through in the past, basically on leveraging data and analytics to help the company transform, right? Now, the first thing that happened with the digital transformation at Vodafone was, what kind of data are we looking at, right? So what kind of data do we need, right? And I mean, before I came into the picture, there were just a few KPIs that the business was reporting on, right? But then once you have that initial conversation and chat, like what data exists for you? And I mean, there's so much data available. So for example, for each device or mobile app that you use, there's a payload, and that payload contains a lot of information about whatever activity that happens in the app. So when you use TikTok or Instagram or whatever, there's a payload that contains a lot of activity. So this data is streamed directly to whether it's Instagram servers or Facebook or whatever. So they have information about every single thing that you do in the app, right? And a lot of cleaning happens as well, right? So for those of us interested in data engineering, hopefully this also helps some of you decide what you want to do in terms of data analytics, right? So yes, they are the scientists, they are the analysts, yeah, no, the AI engineers, all these fancy people. But then there are people that are supposed to engineer the data in such a manner that whatever data you have is reliable, is data that you can trust. So that's the next step, right? Because we all have data available, but is it data that you can trust? Is it clean? Is it reliable? Is it, you know, structured in such a way that it's easy to use to generate your insights? So once all of that has been sorted, that's when the work of data analysts come in, right? So what is happening with the data and why is it happening? So that's why data analysts come in to build reports, do dashboards, to do weekly trends, monthly trends, right? So what's happening with the business year to date, month to date? Are we growing as a business? Is the revenue coming in? So on and so forth. And if there are issues, if there's a dip in revenue, the data analysts help to probe and figure out why that is happening, right? So once you have all of that set up, once you all of that foundation strongly, you move to the next step where you're able to do what? Predict, right? Sorry, yeah. So that's the next thing. So what might happen next with the data, whatever it is, right? So for example, I spoke about churn, right? So what are the people to most likely leave the business? Or you're able to predict your revenues as well. So in the coming year, are your revenues going to drop and what is the contributing factors, right? So these are all the cycles that, I've been through, that businesses be to go through to sort of optimize whatever data they have and to be able to leverage it as the fundamentals for building and going further into AI, right? So there are several applications. I'm not going to go through this, but I think I've spoken about lots of them already. Customer lifetime value, personalized offers, which I've spoken about, product recommendation that I've spoken about, predictive maintenance. This example works well with networks as well. So the something that we call self-healing networks. So the networks are able to, based on AI, able to even sort first of all predict if there's a maintenance due soon, and secondly, because of AI integration, some of these networks are able to heal themselves once there are issues or challenges as well. Yeah, so one of the key things that I do a lot is work with the marketing team. I mentioned that before, so at Vodafone, a lot of the work was done with the marketing team as well, working with them to sort of optimize how they work. And content creation is one of the easiest and most simplest things that you can do. Anytime that businesses want to come up with, let's say, a new strategy, I'm going to link it with the second one. Like, so for example, recently a new version of the My MTN app was released. And ChatGPT is an excellent friend for that, right? So what you can simply do is, you put in the prompts that, hey, I have a new version of my app that I want to release into the market. Can you help me with, go-to-market strategies, right? So how can I, push this new version to the app, but that will give me the best maximum reach or whatever, so on and so forth. And once it gives you the strategies, you can even, build upon that, but, the content that you need in terms of marketing campaigns. So, all the marketing agencies or digital agencies that we have in Ghana now, I'm sure a lot of them leverage, some of these text generators, ChatGPT. So I'm supposed to change that, right? So they're able to leverage these technologies to be able to come up with campaigns and also the content for the campaigns as well. And prompt engineering is actually something that is really important. There are, courses on how to be a prompt, write better prompts and all of that. And there are careers in prompt engineering, like people, are into that as well. So AI is excellent for, all of these, tasks and processes. And it helps you work better. It helps you work faster. It helps you, you know, come up with better campaigns that will have the the best reach for your customers. And I did an IBM course in generative AI. And so on your right, these are all the tools that you can use basically to help you with your marketing efforts. So, I mean, for those of you that can either take a picture or save it, sorry, I was supposed to change. I think Bard is now Gemini, right? So when I did the course, it was Bard, but it's now Gemini. I should have changed it. But yeah, basically, these are all tools that you can use to make you work better and faster. Yeah. So up to right, Sonic, these are text generators. And then you have the text summarization, classification. And then if you want to do any sentiment analysis, Brand 24 is actually a very popular, social media management tool. And yeah, so you can take pictures or you can take screenshots just to, you know, research or look into them better. These are some more for image generation. So you can take pictures of this as well if you can screenshot. So if you want to, and people ask me about these a lot that they want to either do like generate images and all of that. So these are all websites that you can use. Yeah, I'm just going to give it a few seconds whilst note all of these down. Okay. Um, okay, so I think there were, sorry, one second. Let me take I'm trying to find, okay. I think there was a question about AI for automation. Was that it? I hope so. But I've given some use cases already. I don't know if I mentioned this. So, um, one of the key ways or one of the very successful ways that I've seen AI being used is in customer service in Ghana. And the the tool or it was a chatbot called Toby, right? And Toby was riding on IBM Watson. So IBM Watson um IBM Watson is IBM's own AI that it developed, some a while back. Right. So the funny thing is IBM was actually in AI before AI became this big. But what they were doing were they were targeting like huge corporations and charging huge amounts of money. So to use IBM Watson, you had to pay a lot of money, right? And IBM Watson basically was the foundation for Vodafone's Toby chatbot, right? And this was a chatbot that was really good, right? In the sense that you were able to have conversations with it. Well, not at the level of ChatGPT, but before you people got used to ChatGPT and asking questions and getting answers and getting all excited, Toby was a version of it, but not as good, right? So maybe we still need to give credits to Vodafone and Toby for, I mean, giving us that foundation. And basically it was the same, like what we did was train the model with data sets, putting in Vodafone's data, stuff that could help the AI learn and be better. And yeah, so it was a tool that was open to customers that you can ask stuff about Vodafone and then it would give you answers. So maybe we even need to write a use case that before ChatGPT became a thing, So that's it. So that's that. So when that happened, what that meant was, so previously that means you need to like there were people behind if you wanted to speak to Vodafone and you went to WhatsApp or how do you call it? Social media, there would be an actual person sitting there speaking to you. But now a lot of the interactions with WhatsApp, it's been automated with AI. So you don't necessarily need to speak to a human being, right? And it helps us. I think it was KLM. So KLM had a chatbot that answered 50% of customer interactions in less than 5 minutes. So you can imagine the huge automation with that, the time save, the cost savings and all of that. And then I mean it's not always great. recently came upon a use case that wasn't excellent. Um, so what happened was the company was using a chatbot to try and automate the process, improve customer interaction, all of that. I think a customer asked for a refund, and the AI said, sure, we can't give you a refund, but actually it was against the company policy. And the person took the company to court, and well, the person actually won because the AI said you could get a refund, right? So, I mean, it works in both ways, but actually it's provided more benefits in my experience than issues or challenges. Yeah, and there was a second question about prompt engineering. So my advice would be whatever you choose to do, it has to be something that you've researched into and you are completely I don't know, I don't want to say in love with, but you are excited about it. I think that's a very good word, right? So your first point of call is to do research, like research into it. What is prompt engineering? What is a career? What does it look like? Long term, that's a very good point. Long term, is it something that I think would still exist, right? So you need to do your deep dive and try and understand all of these, things about prompt engineering. And once you feel it's something that you want to get into, absolutely. I mean, AI is a big deal now. So everything associated with AI is great. Just try and understand long term if it's something that you think would still be relevant, right? So once you're able to clarify it on that, in my opinion, I wouldn't want to do prompt engineering for the rest of my life, basically. Maybe in the next few years so that I get myself acquainted in the field of AI, but then I would have a plan to level up. I don't want to be a prompt, I want to level up, maybe become an AI engineer or something. So maybe you can take it in these steps. Okay, so I think I'll continue and then maybe I'll speak to the rest of the questions later. Okay, so this would be my favorite part because for those of us that again are into data, we know SQL is like very important. Python is very important. And before, this also extends to developers as well. So if you wanted to learn something, right, there's so many websites. And after learning, right, you start applying. And then you realize that, hey, I'm having challenges. This code I'm using is not working or giving. And then what you have to do is you go to Stack Overflow or something. And then you just Google, you type your problem, and then you hope that somebody has asked the same question in Stack Overflow. If nobody has, then you post your issue there. And then you wait for people to respond to that. And then other times, maybe your question has already been asked, but you need to go through a list of different answers to find one that works for you. Sometimes you find one, you go try it and it's not working, and then you go ask questions on it, then you need to wait for, I don't know, however long for the person to reply. But one of the most amazing things that have happened for developers, data scientists, everybody working in the field of technology is now almost instantly you can get help and support on anything that you're having challenges with. It's amazing. It's one of the best things that ever happened, right? So I don't need to spend hours and hours going through chat rooms and all of that. You can just go to either of these coding assistants. I forgot to put ChatGPT. ChatGPT is actually pretty good. So when ChatGPT first came, it wasn't the best when it came to coding. Like it used to frustrate me a lot because I would have a problem with the scripts or a code that I've developed. I will go paste it there and ask for support, and it would just give me absolute nonsense. And then once you use the code and then you go and put the error, sometimes it gives you the same thing that it gave you before. So I actually stopped using ChatGPT for a while for coding, for support. It wasn't until recently that I decided, hey, let me go back. It's been a while. Maybe it's learned and become more intelligent. And it actually has gotten pretty good. So I mean, it's amazing, right? So sometimes I've built, a custom script and I need to optimize it. Just paste it in there and then it does it for you. So it's pretty good. It's not only good for work, but it's also good for learning, right? So you can ask all sorts of questions, how to improve your script, how to write code better. And trust me, once you start using it, you will become a better developer or programmer or whatever it is. So we shouldn't be afraid to use these tools. We should actually leverage it to what become better. So yeah, I've given you all of these assistants. There's a GitHub Copilot, the IBM Watson one. There's also Gemini. So for those of us that use Colabs, Google Colabs, Gemini is just on the same screen. So you can just get support for whatever it is that you're doing. AI for product development. This is probably linked to the marketing guy. So I'm just quickly going to skip it because of time. Now, AI for social good. So this would be the last thing I speak about before maybe we get into questions and then we can end. But AI for social good is actually, and so I talked about so this would be an example of, the AI for, the satellite imagery and blah, blah, blah. And what I thought about recently is, currently in Ghana, we're talking about a lot about Galamsey and miners doing anything. They've been doing Galamsey since I don't know when. But using AI, what we can do is actually monitor. So there's something that we call land cover. So land cover is all the features on the land. So settlement, vegetation, what else? Yeah, so basically things that are on the land, like land cover features, all of those things can actually be monitored. So over a period, you can see how mining has impacted, let's say, the water body, or how mining has impacted, let's say, farms and vegetation, all of that. So there's an example of that. So you see 3 images spanning the different periods, right? So what you do is you train the model to recognize specific areas in the land. So you see the deep green classifies it as what? Forest. And then there's a large green, which you see as what? Grassland. And then there's bare land where bare land is like just people aren't residing, it's just bare. And then there's settlement, which is the red areas. And then there's the mining sites over there as well. So in 2002, you don't see a lot of yellow. And then you go to 2008, you see some yellows popping up. And then 2016, you see more yellows popping up. So basically, that's how that works, right? And I just felt this would be an excellent way to, even though it requires a lot of resource, because these satellite images, you need to download them or get them from, I think it's a NASA website or USGS, some website, yeah. And yeah, I mean, you need to go there and then find the right satellite images, because some of the satellite images, they're taking my satellite. Sometimes when they take the images, they're, how do you call it? Clouds covering it. So it's work, like it's a lot of work. But a lot of these government institutions and maybe individuals like even myself can, do this work, automate it in such a way that we can see areas where mining is impacting maybe vegetation and, water bodies. And the interesting that happens is, our water bodies now look like Lipton or whatever. So once you download these images from USGS, you're able to differentiate between the Lipton water bodies and good water bodies, right? So what you train the image to do is, if the water bodies are looking like Lipton, the pixel attributes or values would differ from a clean or safe water body. So in that case, you're able to classify and say, if you see this kind of, attributes, then please know that this is, this is not a natural, like this dirty or something. And yeah, so maybe this is something that I will explore myself as a side project. This was actually done by me many years ago, like many, many years ago. I'm not that old, but it's not recent. So yeah, so I think this will be my last note. And I don't know the kind of audience that I have. I can't segment you because I don't have your data. But my advice would be, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. If your interest is in data science and analytics, you want to start in that. I have some videos on YouTube, and one of them there's a plan. So if you want to get into data science or analytics, I built a plan that you can adapt for either 6 months or 1 year. And for each month, you have like goals, like things that you need to learn to be able to get to the particular goal. So once you reach out to me, I can share it with you. I've shared it with a couple of people in the past, and you can build your own plan, customize it, and then hopefully it helps you get into the field, or if you're already in it, to be more structured and to work better. So I think that would be it.
Right. Thank you very much, Kwame, for your presentation. We are glad to have you. It's a privilege to have you as well. I think we have a number of questions in the chat box. You answered some of them. I don't know if you can see the rest, or I should read them out to you.
Yeah, let me see if I can go to them. So yes, so there's someone asking about learning prompt engineering in terms of courses. So I mean, you've reached out to me on LinkedIn. I can try and help you find courses, but I think Coursera does provide a lot of programs on AI. They've done very good work. The IBM one that I did on Coursera. So yeah, I can help you find a couple of them to do. Yes, but my advice to you to be read more about it and then try and also research around other fields in AI that don't just have one option. Just try and extend it and then consider all of them. And then another key thing is reach out for people. Reach out to people on LinkedIn for advice is very important. So people that are in the field, just help them, they will help you decide on what to do. And then, yeah, if it's a good idea to get into that or other options that you can explore. Yeah. Maybe
Okay.
you do the prompt engineering because you don't want to code. I don't know if that's the issue, but yeah, just do that and then yeah, you can reach out to me. I'm sure I'll be able to help you. Yeah.
Mm.
Yep, yep. Any other questions? Oh, that's it.
There are other questions there. I don't know, or I should read them to you.
Yes, if you can. I'm just I can see them. Yeah.
Um, there's one that what makes AI model give wrong answers when it was built with specific data.
Yeah, so let me give an example of the general. So, for example, you might train a model to recognize customers that are likely to churn. But one of the challenges may be you didn't use enough data sets. So
Mm.
that's why it's always advisable to use a large data set to train your model so that it's able to consider all the different scenarios and able to give you, the best answer. Secondly, models are not perfect. That's why we always do an accuracy. So when you build a model, the question that they ask you is, how accurate is this model? And then as part of your model building, you're supposed to also define the accuracy of the model, right? So if it's 80% accurate, then the business knows what it's dealing with. That 20% of the time, the model may fail, but you can optimize your model to help it be more accurate, or you can use more data set. The larger the data set, the better, your outcome. Yeah. So that's why they always say open AI, without data, there would be nothing, right? And that's also why they say Google has the potential to overtake ChatGPT and OpenAI simply because no company has more data than Google. Google knows
Google, yeah.
everything. Yeah, Google knows everything about everyone. There's a when you go to this is just a side note. There's a section in your Gmail profile that you can go to see how Google has profiled you. Um,
Mm.
I don't know how I'll need to this was a couple of I went there and I was surprised and shocked.
Sure.
It had
Wow.
like 25 attributes. So for sports, it told me what I'm interested in. For cars, it told
Mm.
me what my interests are. for everything about my life. It told me if I'm a student or I'm not. And this is all based on all the searches that I've done in the past. And Google is allowed, you can see all of that about you. So that's why they say that because of the data that Google has, they are more likely to have a better, version of ChatGPT. Gemini, yeah. Gemini should, but it will take a while, but eventually they should get there. Yeah. Yeah. Any other questions?
Okay. There's a follow-up on data, the prompt engineering, a follow-up. Where
Okay.
would you recommend for learning prompt engineering in terms of course? I think you mentioned something on Coursera.
Yeah,
It's
exactly. Yeah. And challenges, I mean, you should be prepared to spend. ALX is doing a good job now, but I don't know if they have any course in prompt engineering. Um, yeah, I'm not sure about the free courses. Let me give you a resource. So you can go to EDX. So EDX is a resource that they call something audits. So audits means you can go through the course content, just that you probably wouldn't get a certificate. But if your goal is to learn,
mm,
then you can use that to learn. They have so many courses that you can just learn from. You can audit them, and then you don't necessarily have to pay for it, but you would have the learning,
the knowledge.
the knowledge. Let me get the
Mm, okay.
yeah. So just put it in the chat. Hopefully that helps. Yeah. So once you go there, you can just search for prompt engineering and so there's one course called prompt engineering and advanced chat GPT. And yeah, it's free, it's self-paced, and you just need to do 1 to 2 hours per week. And yeah, you can go through
Can you
that.
put it in the chat?
Sure,
It's not
let me
sure.
uh
We need to change the lesson
okay.
to
Uh
everyone.
all right, everyone. Okay, done.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. So, yeah, so this is free. You can do it, learn the content, and maybe later, once you get some money, you can go pay and then take the certificates. But as we all know, the important thing is the learning, right? The knowledge. Once you have that, it's good. Yeah.
Hmm. Okay.
Oh,
That is the AI model building. Is it a back end activity?
yeah. Yeah, I was gonna ask you to clarify, but I think I get your question. Yeah, it certainly is a backend activity. So
Okay. If you could give
yeah.
us a demo.
No, so this wouldn't be a demo. Yeah. Yeah, then we'll have to prepare for a demo. Yeah, I think I've done a
Oh,
demo
okay.
session Africa Digital Skills before. This was on Chain.
Hmm.
Yeah, but this wasn't a demo session. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Since the AI is still evolving, I'm sure in the future we'll have the chance to get a demo to see,
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
how it is done. Yeah. Let me find out if there are anybody want to ask, raise their hand and ask a question. Great. So in the absence of that, we want to thank you, Mr. Menu, for your time and your loyalty to this organization and this project of ours. I think from the beginning, it's only one of the years that you didn't participate. So we are
Yeah.
grateful for your
Yeah.
yes, and we look forward to having this partnership going into the future. We are
Sure.
grateful. Thank
Nothing. Nothing. So
Bye.
thank you. Thank you as well.